Hello and welcome. I am Mara Cepeda. This is Rappler Talk. We are here today with Department of Education Secretary Leonor Briones. Hello, Secretary. Welcome to Rappler. Secretary, you are currently being faced by the issue of the loan deductions in teacher salaries. And this is because of two DepEd orders recently released. One, DepEd Order number 38 prioritizes the deductions for GSIS and Pag-ibig funds. But this caused an uproar among teachers because the deductions led to some of the teachers receiving a net take-home pay below 4,000 pesos in October. And this prompted the Department of Education to release Order number 55, which mandates that teachers will still receive a 4,000 peso salary despite the deductions from GSIS and Pag-ibig Fund loans. May I ask what was the decision-making process behind these two orders, and are they above board?
Okay, the matter of teachers' borrowings has been plaguing the Department of Education and also other offices for the longest time. But the practice of automatic payroll deduction for private lending institutions, because before, ang source lang talaga is JSIS and one or two associations, yun lang. And when the policy was practiced, this policy of automatic payroll deduction for private lending institutions was instituted, then nag-multiply at saka nag-accelerate. And this worsened during the year of by the second millennium, third millennium, that is 2000, 2013, nag-accelerate at saka nag-pick up. And so, last year, this has been going on for 1 year already, are grappling with the problem. GSIS called our attention to the fact that the accumulated debt of teachers had already reached 123 billion. And in the meantime, GSIS had been bumped off or given the least priority in the salary loan deductions. And so they were citing the Constitution, which provides that contract should never be impaired. This is a constitutional provision. And they were also citing Section 47 of the special provisions of the General Appropriations Act. Now, this Section 47 has three provisions which will tend to be non-complementary or will contradict with each other if there is high level of overborrowing. What is this? The first provision is that government indebtedness to government like GSIS, BIR, Pag-ibig should be given priority for automatic payroll deductions. That's one. The second provision is that all others, private sector debts, associations, etc., will be deducted after the public debts, debts to the public institutions. The third provision, which creates a bit of a problem, is the provision that the net take-home pay of a borrower after deduction should not be below 4,000 pesos. So what has been happening? For several years now, GSIS has been bumped off. Now, GSIS did not raise this issue with us because, after all, at the end of the day, when a teacher overborrows and does not pay, when he or she retires, they will automatically deduct all the accumulated debts at compounded interest. So, but when the chairman of GSIS realized that 123 billion na ang accumulated debt, and also 26,000 teachers in 2016 did not receive a single centavo of the retirement benefits, then he thought it was time to act. And besides, GSIS is owned by all government employees and not just by the DepEd. And so if the financial position of GSIS is threatened, many other employees of government will eventually be affected if the trend will go on. And so they were citing provisions of law where our DepEd officials and our financial officers, Undersecretary for Finance, accountant, etc., could be liable, not only with sanctions, the usual sanctions, but also imprisonment if the debts will not be settled or GSIS will not be given priority. At the same time, we also had been consulting the private lending institutions. Private lending institutions reported to us that at the very least, as per their count, teachers owed 170, some say 178 billion in unpaid debts. That makes it total of 300 billion total debt to lending institutions which are registered with the DepEd. Hindi pa kasali yung friendly neighborhood usurer and all the other credit cards, hindi pa yung kasali, only those which are automatically deducted.
Bakit po ganun kataas yung naging loans ng teachers?
This is because in the case of GSIS, when payments are not made, kasi pila yan first in, first served. Now, kung mahuhuli si GSIS na magpadala ng billing, what happens is that they're bumped off because you hit the 4,000 floor, di ba? May limit na 4,000 ang net take-home pay. Pag ma-hit na yung net take-home pay, automatically sa computer system, bumped off ka na, wala ka na sa listahan. So that had been happening all these years. And there was a time also when DepEd, GSIS even stopped lending in order to, clean up the records. And that was sometime in 2000, the year 2000, maybe 2013, several years ago. Now, so GSIS was making angal. Sabi nila, implement the law. And so wherever I went, when I speak in fora of teachers, I've already warned about this, that this is the situation. In the meantime, I had a study conducted. Why is it that DepEd has the biggest loan of all, aside from the sheer size of DepEd? So we had to go to the household level, comparing households with a DepEd person and households with no DepEd person. And these are conducted by the Philippine Statistical Authority, which were analyzed by the Philippine Institute of Development Studies. Now, nakita, in terms of salaries, DepEd employees and teachers tend to be 30% higher in income than their private sector counterparts. The other finding is, in terms of levels of expenditures, DepEd household tend to spend less percentage of their income on basic necessities. This is because they earn more. Kaya, as a percentage, ang gastos nila for basic needs, mas maliit. Kasi malaki ang income nila compared to all other households. Kasi ang compare households with DepEd, households without any DepEd person.
Where do teachers' expenditures usually go then?
So you go to the level of expenditures. Now, traditionally, teachers borrow, and it's a very noble thing, a great sacrifice that they make. Tuition talaga yan, tuition. And then now that there are so many opportunities to borrow, repairs of houses, appliances, and then now trips abroad, all other expenses. So, pero yung basic needs nila covered by their salaries. Yun ang ibig ko sabihin. Compared to the other households na kailangan din yung basic needs. What do I mean by basic needs? It is food, kuryente, ilaw, tubig. Yan, covered yan ang salary nila. The numbers show that. So, ang sabi namin, we have to look at the structure of their debts to the private lending institutions. No, this is where you see a wide and expanding variety of expenditures that are utilized, are spent for when a person borrows. And I'm very happy. I don't mind if a teacher borrows to buy a car, because all you need to do is borrow 800,000, or the teacher can borrow 800,000 to pay for a car, or go on trips abroad. Because according to the NEDA study, 2040 pa, makatravel ang average Filipino family inside his own country. Pero our teachers are already traveling abroad. And I know that because every day I sign dozens of travel authorities. This makes me very happy because, and also of course, personal consumption expenditures, not necessarily basic needs. Kasi basic needs covered yan ang salary nila. So, when we saw this, and we saw the danger, because you have an instance of a principal, for example, and it's a very famous story of the principal who became a janitor, parang reverse Cinderella. When she retired, ubus na yung retirement niya. 2 show na ang nagawa niyan. And we don't want to happen that to our teachers. We don't want 26,000 more. That is 2016, 26,000. How many more will retire in 2017 without receiving the retirement pay? And your question is, how did that happen? Bakit nag-grow? It's because when the payment, the installment for the loan is not paid, it automatically is computed. The remaining balance plus interest is compounded. And that is in the provision, that is in the contract, which the borrower signs. So so we were in a conundrum. We have to obey Section 47 of the GAA. That is what the teachers are demanding. So first, GSIS. So we have to deduct already the installment of GSIS. GSIS was bumped off. The computer system, kasi pag mabangga ang 4,000 limit, automatically hindi na i-deduct. You have a situation.
It's a system problem?
Now, it's not a problem. It's not a system problem because it's not the fault of the computer. The computer is programmed in such a manner that your automatic payroll deductions, when they are applied, lagay mo yung automatic payroll deduction, pag abot na ng 4,000 na lang ang balance, automatically hindi natatanggapin. Before, ang GSIS ang na-bump off. Now, so, sabi namin, ilagay namin ang GSIS. So, we had GSIS and the private loan deductions. That was the first order, Order 38. That was only applied in 2 regions. Kasi nung in-apply ng NCR, in-apply ng 4A, nakita namin kaagad, and bear this, remember this, I have to emphasize, less than 10% ang na-bump off. But of course, the outcry was horrendous. It was as if you have 674,000 teachers affected. It is 2 regions. Nung nakita namin yan, we stopped it immediately. Kasi may na-bump off. Because before, wala namang nababump off. Wala namang teacher na nababump off ng 4,000. Pero ngayon, when GSIS insisted, uunahin sila, ang na-affect ang 4,000 limit. Now, so sabi nila, obey the 4,000 limit, etc. So, when we issued our next circular, sabi naman, okay, retain the 4,000 limit. And since GSIS refused to be bumped off under threat of constitutional, etc., sino naman ngayon ang nababump off? It's the PLIs. Not all PLIs are bumped off. Yung basta babangga ka na sa 4,000, doon na talagang mas-shut off na ang computer, hindi ka na mapasama. So, hindi naman sila lahat ma-affect. Now, in the case of these 2 regions na yung DepEd Order 38 in-implement, nakita namin less than 10% ang ganon. Pero ang range yan, 3,950 down to their famous, very dramatic 15 pesos. So sabi namin, itigil yan. Pero in the process of making tigil, the PLIs are also affected. It was an untenable situation, basta may overborrowing. But I'm not saying that all teachers overborrow. I'm just saying, in the case of the 2 regions, less than 10% were directly affected. And because of the huge and the massive outcry, okay, we stopped it. So when we issued the second circular, ayun na, ang PLIs na ang nababump off. We said in the circular, kung ma-affect, hindi mabayaran yung lahat na PLIs na utang nila, they will have to settle directly over the counter. And we warn them about the spectacle of compounded interest. Ngayon, why are we also concerned not only about the GSIS loans, but also the PLI loans? By PLI, we mean the private lending institutions. This is because, while 26,000 teachers did not receive their retirement pay, we have an increasing number of teachers who are losing their licenses because they are accused of estafa before the Professional Regulation Commission. And also, we have increasing number of cases filed by PLIs even before all these things happen. We don't discuss it because it's not the nicest thing to discuss publicly. We also have an increasing number of cases, administrative cases filed against our own teachers, again also by PLIs. So it's really getting untenable. And all this stems from the fact that you have a situation, if you judge by NCR and 4A, about less than 10% are affected, and you have this huge outcry. Now, my argument is, in this very touching drama, tear-jerking drama, with media coming in, then maybe let us pause to think this thing through rationally. Now, there are four players here, four groups of players. One, of course, are the borrowers. The teacher borrower, the superintendent borrower, etc. The second would be GSIS, which lends 16 different kinds of loans to public employees, including teachers. Then you have the PLIs, which have very, very attractive, irresistible siren calls to borrow, even before a new teacher, maybe a person like you, receives his or her appointment papers. Mayroon na siyang loan. Kasi susulatan na siya, congratulations, bibigyan ka ng laptop or bibigyan ka ng cellphone or whatever, and congratulations, welcome. Once you enter into that debt trap, then it's difficult. When she is 65, she will have problems managing her debts. No? So, then you have GSIS, then you have, after GSIS, you have DepEd. What is the function of DepEd? DepEd's function is to deduct on instructions of the teacher borrower who tells us, please deduct from my salary, my amount, etc., etc. And also, under contract with the GSIS, that we will make the deductions, and also an agreement with the PLIs that we will make the deductions. Now, who is benefiting from all the borrowing? Who benefits? Of course, the borrower, teacher borrower. Of course, GSIS, with the billions of compounded interest at the end of retirement, biro mo kung 25 years yan, you can imagine. And then, of course, the PLIs. What does the DepEd get out of it? In one radio interview, it was claimed that we get 3% from the PLIs. That is fake news. Kasi we get 1/2 of 1%, but it is credited to the Provident Fund, which is owned by all employees of DepEd. Now, what is Provident Fund spent on? It is we lend out also to the teachers. Kung kulang yung PLI, GSIS, they go to Provident Fund. Although they're not particularly happy kasi 100,000 lang mautang nila, they can make utang with the two institutions at much bigger amounts.
It goes back.
Yeah, it really goes back. And then you have death benefits. When I came in, when persons, teachers, pass on in the course of doing their duty, in case of violent incidents, etc., accidents while traveling to conferences, etc., I doubled the benefits from the Provident Fund. So, ayun. So, wala na isang kusing papasok sa DepEd. Now, tell me, Mara, who is blamed? who is the kontrabida right now and who is being pictured as the kontrabida, may kasalanan sa lahat. At saka it's already in an issue kasi na-correct na yan, na-reverse na yung hiningi nila. Oo. Now, who is blamed? It is the DepEd.
There's a pending probe on these two DepEd orders after a resolution was filed by the ACT Teachers Party at the House of Representatives. Given the explanation that you have just given, Secretary, do you think that the criticisms being hurled at DepEd is unfounded?
I believe they are misplaced. Because as I said, who has been benefiting? Who are the major players? Yung talagang who have been transacting. By the time that we receive the notice to deduct, the money has probably been spent. Sila nag-uusap. The borrower talks with PLIs. In 30 minutes, you can get from a PLI alone. GSIS a little bit longer, and so on. And teachers, since of course they refuse to the notion about financial literacy, it is assumed that the teacher has read the provisions of the kind of loan. Kasi 16 different kinds of loans ang nabilang ko. Oo. Pero the one who has benefited least and is servicing the teachers is the one most blamed. And media is fed with this kind of information. And it's surprising because teachers are thinking people, PLIs are thinking people, GSIS thinking people, and the teachers are thinking people. Now, you have two laws which were recently passed, and this is why we're going to work some more on this problem. One law provides that all high school students should be taught entrepreneurship and financial literacy by DepEd and all other learning institutions. To be able to teach financial literacy to our pupils, we have to hone the capacities also of our own teachers. And this becomes even more urgent kasi this is now a law. The other law provides that every second week of November should be declared as a financial literacy week, and DepEd is mandated again to conduct information campaigns, etc., which will also involve the teachers. Yes. Now, to say that financial literacy, to say that one is financially illiterate, is that insulting? I don't think so. I am financially illiterate. I retired from government as a teacher, as a professor. I don't have savings. I don't have property. And I have been serving University of the Philippines for 50 years. And this is because I did not think about savings. I did not think about investment. I only thought about sharing whatever I had with people I wanted to help. And I never thought about what I would leave behind to my children if anything happens to me. I am financially illiterate. But now there is such a law which provides that we should teach the young kids financial literacy. But I am literate in public finance, which is looking at the budget of the government, etc. I can make mental calculations and so on and so forth, percentage of the budget, social expenditures, Pero yung financial I am financially illiterate. I'm illiterate on personal finance. There's nothing to be shameful about it. Or it doesn't mean that I am bobo. Now, last week, we held a conference in Davao for teachers on digital literacy. So now the meaning of literacy has broadened from being able to read and write to include the basics of any activity. So I am also digitally illiterate. I'm good at Facebook, I'm good at Twitter, and reading what Rappler says. But beyond that, my staff has to do everything for me. I am illiterate and I admit it. But I say I am already untrainable and my staff helps me along. My grandchild is very impatient with me. Pero there is nothing embarrassing about it or demeaning or insulting about agreeing and admitting that one can be illiterate. You can be culturally illiterate. You can be illiterate historically and think that Apolinario Mabini can walk on two legs.
As a former teacher yourself, what is your advice to teachers now so they can escape what you call the death trap? And what can the Department of Education do to help them?
Right now, many superintendents are already requiring the new teachers who come in to undergo financial literacy courses. Part of the induction process na yon. Without even an order from us, because at their level, the division superintendents, the regional directors already see what is happening. The issues that are brought up were taken up by 10 people who had placards and so on, calling Liling sinungaling, Liling Teliling, and attacking very, very personally. But they do not necessarily represent 674,000 teachers. Pero on their own, these things are already happening, even without an order. Now that there is a law, we have to be more organized about it. Kasi ngayon, kiss-to-kiss basis. O whoever wants it, does it, and then requires the people around them to do it. So we have to do it now on a more organized basis. The law says that private institutions can be involved, they can volunteer, and we have been talking to a lot of private persons and groups who are willing to render financial literacy exposure. Kung ayaw mong financial literacy, personal financial management or personal wealth management, if it is so demeaning to say financial literacy, but the law says financial literacy. Ibig sabihin, the basics of personal finance. We will have to make it mandatory, perhaps, because we are going to teach the children. The law says the high school students have to be taught financial literacy. So we have to be prepared. We have to prepare the curriculum and so on and so forth. So it might be mandatory.
What are the benefits of the recently concluded 31st ASEAN Summit to the Philippine education sector?
As I was saying during the press conference this morning, ministers of education in ASEAN are very well organized. We have the SEMEO. This is the facility which was built by the Philippine government for ASEAN countries, and the member countries meet regularly, sometimes several times a year, and you have many ongoing programs, and these are for ASEAN member countries. In the Philippines, we have the two best-known centers in Philippines are this center, which is SEMEO, Siarca, for example, in Los Baños, and they serve the ASEAN countries. Each ASEAN member has several centers which also service the member countries. Like Thailand has a center on sustainable economic development, social development, economic development, and we are sending our people there to follow the wherein they teach the philosophy of King Bumibol about self-sufficiency, spending what, creating wealth for your own, being self-sufficient, not being dependent, and so on and so forth. And right now, we have several people who are there. Now, for the ASEAN Summit, the agreement between CHED, for example, and New Zealand and Canada would benefit our teachers because we will, of course, suggest that our teachers be part of the program and they can go to Canada or New Zealand to be exposed to latest developments which they can pass on to their colleagues and to their learners. So yung mga scholarships, and this will not only be in New Zealand or Canada, I'm very, very sure, because right now our teachers go to Korea for short programs. They go to Japan. They go to Bangkok, for example, and other countries. So this is already ongoing, but the added agreement with New Zealand and Canada will be a benefit to us. So there will be more opportunities for our teachers to capacitate themselves.
Because of the ASEAN Summit, there are no classes this week. Are there still enough days for makeup classes for the school year? or naubos na po ba siya?
Actually, yung minimum number of school days, which is yung non-negotiable 180 days, so far, tapos plus 15 days, kasi 195 daw yung total na available, so far has not been breached. But we don't know at the level of other schools. Kasi the situation of schools in different regions is different. Ang napuruhan ng holidays, of course, is NCR because you have the holidays for national events like ASEAN or national challenges to traffic like strikes, and then you have the natural disasters. So napuruhan ang NCR. But even in NCR, there are there are also differences. Like for example, Makati is already thinking of make-up classes because sino ba ang nagde-declare ng holidays? There are two institutions. It's not DepEd which declares holidays. There are two groups which declare holidays. One is the local governments in case of natural disasters, and second is national government in case of national events. But in addition to this, local governments themselves have their own holidays, like araw ni Makati, araw ni Maynila, araw ng Quezon, and their local heroes. So, you would have instances where a particular city may be close already to the minimum, and there are those which are still very comfortable, even in NCR. Kasi we assume everybody is affected in NCR, not necessarily so. We assume that in Region 3, for example, everybody is affected, not necessarily so. Now, the other regions are in no danger at all. This is because the usual holidays which are declared are those related to disasters, and not all the regions have disasters every other day. And then the holidays which are very local, also like the araw ng Cagayan de Oro or araw ng Iligan, or all the local holidays. Pero hindi nila mabibreach yung limit ng 180 days. It will be in NCR. And this is why we rely on the reports of the division superintendents and the regional directors. Ang decisive nito ay ang regional directors and the superintendents. Kasi sila ang nakakabilang. Dahil hindi namin nabibilang yung local declarations. Oo. So magkaiba. Oo.
What is the extent of the damage of the war in Marawi to the schools in the city?
As of the latest count, you are told that 29 schools were totally destroyed and have to be replaced. And at the same time, you have 47 schools which have been damaged. Now, for the schools which have been totally damaged, we are inviting generous donors and concerned citizens if they want to adopt the school, because it will speed up things, no? Kasi magsabay ka ng more than 20 schools, sabay-sabayin mo yan. In the meantime, temporary learning spaces are being put up. And you have 47 schools also which are damaged. Yeah, yung 47 schools, we will fund it from our own budget for repairs and maintenance. And we will seek permission. Kasi these are calamity related.
And how much will you be spending for the repairs of these?
Anywhere for the new schools, anywhere from 1.6 billion to possibly 4 billion. Yes. Depende on the location at saka kung kailangan ng strong structure, etc. Kasi ang ang condition lang namin sa magdo-donate ng buildings is kung pwedeng masunod yung design ng DepEd, especially in earthquake-prone places or typhoon-prone places. Now, Marawi is not necessarily earthquake-prone, but it's prone to other threats as well, as you know. So, ganun. Kami sa amin ang design. Pero kung sino mag-donate, they can build it according to our design.
As I understand it, it's the DPWH that is mandated to take over the construction of new school buildings.
No, it is our money, but it goes directly to DPWH. And then DPWH is also saddled with all the other reconstructions which it has to accomplish. And this is why we're asking for donors who want to help out to adapt a school, whether for repair or whether for total donations. Some members of Congress have been thinking along those lines because that was the practice before. And then the policy was changed. DPWH will build everything, and then part of our budget will be transferred to DPWH and so on. And some congressmen and lawmakers are thinking of, no, that is an ongoing conversation, because there are those who believe it might be faster if it is DepEd, and there are those who think that the business that DepEd is teaching and not building schools. Although some others also say that kung bigay sa DepEd, and if it's the principal or the superintendent, it's like as if you are they're building their own homes. So they are there every day making kulit, checking everything, because it's like their home, and that is how it is for many school teachers. Pero wala pang policy ganon. Kaya sabi namin, para mapabilis, maybe the private sector can help out.
Secretary, there is a plan to have a special Brigada Escuela to be done in Marawi City. What can we expect from it?
It has been, the Brigada Escuela has been tentatively scheduled for December 11, but the final go signal will come from the Department of National Defense, no? And what will they expect? It will be specially for Marawi. And we will invite the entire country, all our traditional partners as well as new ones who will want to join, to come and join us and make their contributions. Usually, they donate building materials, they help out in the cleaning, which we do during our Brigada Escuela, and also the parents come over, and it's both a festive as well as a fellowship event. But it is especially for Marawi.
And that's all the questions that I have for you today. Secretary Briones, thank you so much for being with Rappler today.
Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure, and thank you for the opportunity to explain that we are not the villains in the issue of teachers' deaths.
And there you have it. That was Education Secretary Leonor Briones, who talked to us about the loan deductions in teachers' pay, the 31st ASEAN Summit and its effects on the education sector, and the rehabilitation of Marawi schools. I am Mara Cepeda. This is Rappler Talk. Join us again next time.